everybody. Randy Crabtree, host of the Unique CPA podcast and partner with Tri-Merit Specialty Tax Professionals. Here recording live from the Bridging the Gap conference in Rosemont, Illinois. We're having a great time here. And my guest today is Kimberly Ellison-Taylor. Kimberly, welcome. Thanks for sitting down and having a discussion with me.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you, Randy.
I am thrilled you're here. And you actually recently just got here because you had a big day yesterday. You were taking a CIA exam, and I think you probably have to explain what that means.
Yes, so as you know, I am a certified public accountant. Yes. I'm also a chartered global management accountant. Mm-hmm. I have the Certified Information Systems Auditor designation as well. But I'm really excited that I passed the Certified Internal Auditor exam. And while everyone was saying, Kimberly, we know you had it, I was like, I didn't know I had it. You think I had it? Those questions were tricky. But I was really excited to add that to my credibility and visual, I think, achievement of things that I've done.
Yep, well, I'm going to say I don't think you need any more credibility. I think your credibility is through the roof, and even without that, but it's awesome that you're doing that because you got like this many initials to your name already.
I'm trying. I got to keep up. It's so competitive in today's environment. And you know, when I left Oracle, because I was at Oracle for almost 17 years, I left and I joined some corporate boards. And so between being a CPA and with a technology background and now the CIA, I think that makes me even more valuable as a board member, and I'll be able to offer some more perspectives.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. You're always impressing me, I'll tell you that for sure. Why don't you explain what you are doing now? Because now you're completely on your own, or what's the...
Well, I know, it is so interesting. People, you know what, it's interesting because what I tell young people, and I spend a lot of time with young people, is don't think outside the box. What if there were no box? Don't see the box.
Right.
And so I'm living that. Yeah. And so I am an independent corporate board director. I am an adjunct professor with Carnegie Mellon. I teach emerging technology and innovation. I am a keynote speaker, like I'm going to be speaking here at this conference. I'm really excited about that. Me too. I am a consultant, and at the same time, I am leading a consulting firm as the CEO. So I get to do a lot of different things. I love to write. People may not know that, but when people have tried to write for me in the past, it's hard. Because I send it back and I'm like, oh, I kind of want to say it like this.
Right.
And so now today, if someone wanted me to write a blog or something, they would probably send me the concept and then I write it.
You write it?
I have to write it. I have a technical writing minor. I love to write.
How do you have time for all of this?
I don't know, but when you love it,
yes,
I think you have time. Randy, how do you have time? I don't know, how do we all have time?
I'll tell you one thing. I have time because I've learned, it took a long time, to delegate the things that are not passionate to me, that I figure someone else would be better at. And so it took me a long time to get to that point, but it's pretty much how I've created time.
I agree. And I would say prioritize, right? I start every day with a list. Maybe that's an accountant thing. I don't know, but I have at least 3 things. I used to have a list when I was younger of like 10 things, and I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna do 10 things. Right. I already know I'm not gonna do 10 things. Right. But if I do these 3, I'm good.
You give me goosebumps because I do a presentation on mental health awareness and burnout in our profession, and one of the people that I quote often in there is this woman, Courtney Durandi. Courtney's managing partner of a firm in Iowa, and she says the exact same thing. She doesn't have this to-do list anymore. What she does is, what's the 3 things that are important today that I need to get done, and then a weekly importance, and then she might have a to-do list, but it's sitting in the corner. It's not in their head. It's these 3 things.
Because it would drive us bananas. Yep. We would be sitting there thinking, when you're not sleeping, I didn't do 7 of those things today.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, I'm not doing that. I've aged out of that.
That's awesome.
I've aged out of that.
How about, because you are, man, we're going on tangents here, which is
awesome.
I
love it. Yeah. I will follow you. Wherever you go with this, Randy, I'm there.
All right. Because the things you were just talking about, Another important thing, and man, in my mind, it's like, I don't know how Kimberly can do this because she's got so much going on. But do you personally try to shut down at the end of the day? Like, there's a certain point in time where work isn't a part of my life anymore for this day, and now it's family time, or it's go to the movie time, or it's read a book time. I mean, do you have that incorporated in your?
Well, I love to read.
Okay.
And so because I love to read, and I think all of us, anyone who's been thought of as a thought leader probably is someone who likes to read.
Yep.
But when I am reading on my own time, I'm not picking up the Journal of Accountancy. I'm not reading the latest SEC or FASB announcements.
Right.
I'm actually reading some fun stuff I don't want to say on this podcast. Fun stuff. And I shouldn't say podcast, this webinar. And I would just say that's how I recalibrate and re-energize.
Yeah.
Now, I get it. My husband, he will watch television. He's watching Clark and Lois, or Lois and Clark. So it's a show on television right now. But I was one, I never saw How to Get Away with Murder. I never saw Scandal. I missed Game of Thrones. I missed The Walking Dead. I know, you're ready to throw me out of here right now. I never watched any, I was reading. I would be more inclined to read the book.
Yeah. Okay.
And because when you're on a plane, I can read and visualize it in a way that sometimes you wouldn't get to see.
Right.
Now, I'm a sci-fi fan, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Innovation and sci-fi and fantasy. But to recalibrate and re-energize, I have to read, and then I listen to rain music. Because my mind is always going, back to your question.
Yep.
So I started listening to the sounds I used to play for my sons. Rain noise, thunderstorms, and that puts me to sleep.
Really? So is that just playing all night then?
Yeah, it is. It's playing all night.
No, I do the same thing. Not rain, but just the white noise.
White noise.
Every night.
It's like the staticky noise.
Yep, that's what I do. And same thing. So, all right. Well, you just mentioned that you're presenting here in a couple hours, actually.
Yay!
Let's go into your presentation, the innovation. Because when you hear innovation, I'm thinking technology, but it's not just technology you're talking about. Why don't you give us an idea of what you're going to discuss?
Innovation is a mindset.
Yep.
And one of the things that I'll say today is that we've been trained to see all the reasons why something won't work. We could tell you 10 ways. If you had asked me about social media, I would have said, oh, that'll never work, and let me tell you why. And if you would ask me about Uber or Lyft, I would have said, oh, no, well, let me tell you about the taxi cab medallions. It costs a lot of money. There's a whole regulatory framework. No one's getting in a car with strangers. You know, the technology.
Yeah.
Listen, don't take stock tips from me, because clearly I didn't know what I was talking about. Because during the pandemic, for me having thought all that, I was getting my food from strangers.
Yeah, right.
I was like, oh, I thought people didn't want to get in a car with strangers, and now I'm getting my food from strangers. And it's because we are trained to think of the risk, and we're trained to think of all the why it won't work.
Yep.
And if you're gonna have this innovative mindset, you've got to start thinking about the art of the impossible, because the things that we think are impossible are possible. It's just a matter of time.
Right. I love that, what you just said, but also what you just said is that our brains are trained to, think we can't. I think they're also trained to, this is my opinion, I'd be curious what you think. Our brains are trained, or we're at a point with our brains where if there's any type of change or any little bit of potential, let's say pain, let's talk about technology. I know I should be integrating technology into my practice, but that 30 hours that I'm going to put into it is so much more painful in my head than the 1,000 hours I'm going to save over the next 2 years. I'm just not going to do it. And so, is that something that you look at? It's like the people get so scared of the short-term payment, ignore the long-term gain.
That is 100% true.
Yep.
And it's also good enough.
Yeah.
It's working.
Oh, right.
And it's working.
Right.
And if it's working today, then they're thinking, we'll just ride this train.
Yep.
But see, here's what happens. I think it's trickling, and then we look up and everyone's got an Uber. Everyone's got, taking Uber everywhere. The taxi cab industry probably didn't take it seriously.
Right.
They didn't have to.
Right.
Because they were secure that the framework for how they existed was going to be in place and nothing was going to change that. But the public sentiment is a huge motivating factor in why firms succeed or fail.
Yep.
And we've got to be ready.
No, we got it.
We got to be ready.
Simon Sinek tells a very similar story to that. I think when he talks about Kodak, you know, they were well positioned to take over digital photography. They decided, no, we sell film, and so we're just going to stick with that. And now they've pretty much, you know, gone down to nothing.
Exactly.
So.
And then I would have to say, in most organizations, there's this innovation incubation arm because they know that if it's not a skill set you innately have, you need to bring the dreamers.
Right.
You need to bring the people who can sell ice in Alaska. It may not be you.
Right.
And I think that's a level of self-awareness that we didn't always have.
Yes.
Because if you know that's not your strong suit,
Right.
then your team needs to include those people, and you have to listen to them and give them the environment that they can thrive and grow.
I love everything you're saying, because we did an exercise with our firm recently, and it was around Clifton Strengths Finders. I don't know if you've done that. All right.
Yes, yes.
So we did it last fall. Everybody kind of learn what category they're in and everything. And then this spring we had another company retreat, and what we did is discussed what this means and everything. And the most impactful thing that happened, we had someone leading it. The most impactful thing that happened is at the end of it, after we talked about, you know, what our strengths are and everything, where we fall in four different categories, she asked us to all go to 4 different corners of the room based on where we fell in. And, you know, I was in this corner, someone there, someone there, someone there. And I looked around and I go, if everybody was over here with me, we're not going anywhere. This business won't even exist. I need that, I need that, I need that. And it just made us all like, wow, this is so cool that we are all needed and all so important, and nobody is
powerful.
Yeah, exactly, without each other.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's people, it's process, it's technology. It is not only are you going to be leveraging artificial intelligence, although that's a huge part.
Yeah.
It's also about making sure you have the environment that does not penalize failure.
Right.
Because if you have an environment that penalizes failure,
Right.
how long would it be before I would not do anything?
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't do anything. I would just play it safe.
Right, exactly.
Right.
I'm not. Hey, that's just. If I fail, I'm not going to get rewarded for my success. I'm going to get penalized
Exactly
for my
right.
failure. Yeah,
That's
no.
exactly right. No, you can't do it.
So, all right. So I don't know. You want to go into anything else on what you're talking about today?
No, because I think it's going to be great. I would tell people
I'm sitting in there
to get in there, because I'm going to be talking about my movies, and because I'm at work. When I'm watching the Avengers and I'm watching all of the X-Men, I'm working too.
Nice.
Because I'm getting new ideas.
You are. That's amazing. There's someone else that does that same thing. Oh, we just watched by Terrell Turner. He can go to Burger King, and somehow that turns into a business lesson for him.
Sure can.
He's amazing, and
I love Terrell.
Oh yeah,
he's great.
One of my favorites. So, all right. So I really appreciate you being here. Before we wrap up, I didn't know if you want to put a bow on the discussion we had here and just give us your final thoughts on the importance of maybe community that we're having just at this conference, or innovation in general.
Well, I just want to applaud the work that you do, because to bring this many thought leaders together in one place, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then so many different topics that are not just technical, some of them are success skills.
Yep.
I think it's the combination of what we were just talking about. We need both.
Right.
And we need to reimagine the topics that people need to hear about. So yes, people absolutely need to hear about what to expect during next tax season.
Right.
And absolutely need to hear about how to maximize tax credits.
Yep.
But they also need to hear about innovation, anticipation, and thinking about the future, and how to lead next gen talent.
Oh yeah.
And so all of the things that I've seen on this agenda, and for the leaders that you have here, tells me that you're pretty smart, because being on top of all of those different emerging issues means you don't have to know it all. You've got friends.
Right.
And you can bring in your friends to help you bring this information to the public and to organizations and firms that need to know these very key topics.
Well, I appreciate that. My whole big passion is just let's be a better profession. Let's be better personally, professionally, mentally healthier, physically healthier. You know, let's figure out ways where we can work less, make more, have a better work-life balance, all that. And so that's the point of the conference in my mind. I appreciate you saying that.
And this is why I'm here,
All right.
because of you. Thank you, Randy.
You're gonna make me blush now. Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Hey, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I really, truly appreciate it.